Hello and welcome to your Hometown Solutions. I'm your host, Jean Newell with Waterview Realty. And in the studios with me today is Jonathan Lack, my co-host. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Jean. It's great to be back.
And Jonathan, tell us a little bit about what your specialty, can't say specialty, right? What your focus is on real estate and law.
Yes, my area of practice with Lack & Lack Chartered is transactional real estate law.
I just found out, I cannot say specialty. So that's good. Do you have a focus on real estate law? And you also own Waterview Title and Waterview Realty, so we can talk about real estate in terms of that as well.
Yeah, the goal at Lack & Lack Waterview Title Waterview Realty is to be able to cover all of your real estate needs. So
that's
if you're
right.
Buying, selling, have any issues with real estate, feel free to give us a call at 321-953-5115, and we'll answer any questions you may have.
That's right. And for those of you listening today, we're going to be talking about part 2 of elder care. We have in the studios with us again from last week, David Slonim from the Slonim Law Firm. We had a great show last week, and we talked about all kinds of probates and wills and everything that you didn't know that you needed, but it's very important. So today we're going to talk more about guardianship and some of the other issues that come up as far as Medicaid and so forth. So welcome to the studios again, David Slonim with Slonim Law Firm. Hello, David.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here again.
Well, we're going to have a next 20-25 minutes all talking about the different things that people need to know. And you have some great information on your website. Go ahead and share that with our audience, your website and your information on how they can contact you.
Sure. So the website that can be accessible anywhere you can find the web is slonimlaw.com. That's SLONIM law.com. And the Melbourne office number is 321-757-5701.
That's great. Well, you have great information on your website, and I know you like to focus on the various things that have to do with elder care, like estate planning, probate, Medicaid planning, guardianship, digital estate management. We touched a little bit on a digital estate management, and that was a very interesting topic. And I'm not too sure we actually kind of finished that up last week. Was there some more that you wanted to add on digital? In fact, go ahead and let's review what digital planning is.
Sure. So basically, digital estate planning or management is something that's kind of coming into increased focus now that we have so much of our lives online. I tend to call it virtual reality because, we have that virtual world that's coming into our real world more and more often, especially when we're talking about our Teslas or, Internet of Things or other things like that have online accounts, but then we interact with in the real world. And so digital estate management is for any of your online accounts that don't necessarily have a beneficiary designation opportunity like your bank accounts do, to be able to transfer or close those accounts when you pass away. And so that becomes increasingly important when you have more utility bills and other things that are coming into your email that need to get transferred. Also, a big problem that we're seeing is for your Facebook account when there's a lot of nefarious people that are coming on when a person passes away and opening up a GoFundMe account or something else allegedly for the benefit of the deceased or the family, and then people donate to that and they abscond with the money. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we see an increased fraud situation, and so it's important to have immediate authority to be able to close those accounts. And the problem is that these accounts stay active for who knows how long after you pass away, depending on which account it is. So I could go on for more than half an hour on that. So,
well, you had said last week about a computer, and someone had to get into their parents' computer or relatives, family members' computer, and they didn't know the password. How do you have to take it to a specialty shop, or do you have to get permission from the government? I don't know, to get into someone's computer. How do you get into it if you don't know the password?
Well, usually just ask your 11-year-old, and maybe they'll be able to do that.
A 13-year-old.
Hack into your computer. Right?
Yeah. But actually, the interesting thing is that there's federal laws that prohibit even a spouse to be able to access your online account. And people have actually been taken to court for doing that and have been fined large amounts of money for accessing your others. So, if you say, oh, well, I've got a list of these logins and whatnot for these accounts, and I'm just going to give it to somebody when I pass away, then, you are, in a sense, violating federal law. And so, there has to be other ways of doing that. And one of those ways is through making sure that your last will or your trust or the power of attorney or the guardianship papers, if necessary, will have special magical language in there that is going to allow that agent to be able to act on your behalf for the digital assets as well. And most elder law or attorneys that create a will just because it's not something they normally do may not have that special language in these documents there. And it's important to go to somebody that's well versed in that to make sure that everything is properly done.
That's one of the reasons I love having this radio show, because we get to learn new things. And even though I've been in practice for pushing 30 years now, these are new areas of the law and new developments that are happening. And it's important to stay up on these topics. And Jean, thank you for having the radio show to enlighten our audience for it. With that said, my question to you, I just lost it.
It was about digital.
The question, I guess it had to do with the Facebook accounts.
Oh, yes.
And I remember reading just a couple of years ago with Facebook ended up having some big to-do, and they changed their policies to allow for this post-mortem access and such. Mm-hmm. Is that something tie into the other question that was on my brain that I had forgotten a second ago, which is the will the proper place to put this clause that gives access, or would there be some type of pre-need declaration that you would do it?
Yeah. I love that question, and we have about 20 minutes here. So let me give you just try to do like a 30-second overview of what we're dealing with here with digital assets. So Chapter 740, under Florida law and RUFADA in general across the United States, says that there's basically 3 tiers. So first, you can have an online tool that you can set up that's going to have a representative that's going to be the authorized person to be able to access or close those accounts. And if you fail that approach, then you have to have your estate planning documents, your will, trust, power of attorney, guardianship papers that are going to have special language in there. And failing that, then it falls down to the end user license agreements that we all read and understand of every single website out there. And the problem is that most websites out there don't have any language at all regarding what happens to your information after you pass away. And so if there isn't anything there, then there's a real big question as to who has the actual authority to handle your data. And one thing people don't realize, just as a bit of an aside, is that for your Amazon ebooks, for example, or your iTunes music, those are licensed to you. So when you pass away, you don't own that data there, as a little aside.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, when you pass away, that data goes back to those companies. And so you can't keep that for the kids' use, for example. But, people have all their photos. We take so many photos online now that are on our phones and get uploaded to the cloud, or the digital documents that we have. Those are all online. And so nobody has photo albums that they pass along anymore. And all this information has the potential of getting lost. And then you've got the financial accounts that are pretty much all via app now. That PayPal has a huge thing that you can do. There's lots of different Venmo and etc. And these are all online. And you can do your stocks that are only online. You don't have any way to kind of reach a real person. And these are all without beneficiary designations. And so the problem is, again, when you pass away, then what happens to those real dollars that a person's going to have there? So it's a real emergent field.
Well, like you said last week, that people don't necessarily like to talk about passing, and they don't like to bring that up necessarily. We know at your dinner table it's brought up all the time.
Yeah, but we have a countdown to death here, about 30 seconds usually. Yeah.
But most people don't like to talk about it. But you had a great idea. Give your parents a certificate. What did you call it? A free certificate?
A gift certificate?
Gift certificate to come in and have a free consultation, because that might be exactly what they need to do. But, it's sometimes difficult to say, tell me, Mom and Dad, all your assets, because it sounds a little strange.
Right.
And people don't like to talk about it because they think it's some bad luck or something. I don't know. Everybody has their own opinion on that. But if they could come in and just have is it a free consultation, or what do you charge for a consultation?
Well, I always believe that you sometimes get what you pay for, and you never get what you don't pay for. And so I do charge a consult rate of about $150, but that's credited towards an actual work that we do. So basically, if there's just nothing further other than a consult, then you're getting some value for what you're paying for, and then it's if we do some work, some of the estate documents and whatnot, then that goes towards that. So
I don't think people realize what benefit there is to sit down with someone and discuss, because you might not even be thinking. I had written down PayPal before you talked about it, because a lot of people have their own little PayPal community. They might have an eBay account. They might have all these different things, and it's continuing to keep churning out if they've got things for sale on eBay and all those kind of things. That the children don't know what's going on, and they don't know about a PayPal account going into a checking account. I mean, there's so much that we rely on digital.
Dating sites is a big thing, actually. We kind of all laugh and giggle about that, but somebody may not want those accounts to be active when you pass away.
Exactly.
And that's something that's kind of a big thing right now. Also, aside from that, your Netflix account or other things, because you may have a Netflix recurring charge on a communal credit card that you and your spouse may have, but that account is only for that one person, not for both. And so again, we may want to make sure that that's going to be terminated appropriately then.
You bring up the new laws regarding it, and you said it was Chapter 740, so I will be reading that. But since most of the audience probably would not do that, is there I guess, for lack of a better term, an intestate succession type law? And again, for those in the audience, when you die with a will, your testate, meaning you have stated what you want to happen to your stuff. The state of Florida has what's called intestate succession, where if you don't do a will, the state of Florida has determined what will happen to your stuff, typically spouse, then kids, then parents, etc., but it can vary. So if somebody doesn't have these digital rights name, does the intestate statute account for that, or is the legislature not that far along yet?
So that's where that third tier in the three-tier system is going to come in, and basically it's going to end up with the end-user license agreement governing. So there's nothing in the statute that actually says a particular person will have the automatic authority as if a person would in an intestate situation where you have a kind of a list or tier of people. It's not that way for the. So
if you don't attend to this, then you're leaving it up to chance what's going to happen to your digital rights.
Right.
And it's a fascinating area that is definitely new, but that's where the world's heading. With there's always going to be something new, and again, that's what makes these shows so interesting. Yeah,
I recommend people go to estatepass.com, for example, for a good service that's going to help with that.
Oh, very good.
Well, you've been listening to part 2 of from our elder care. We were on last week talking about this in more depth of David Slonim, and we'd like to remind you that if you would like to catch part 1 and that you didn't hear last week, you can go to talknetworkradio.com and go to the archives page, or to our page, Jean Newell and Jonathan Lack, Your Hometown Solutions page. And there we have all of our digital, I always say recordings, but I guess we can't say, can we still say recording? I still say recording. I still say tape. We don't use tape or recording or anything, but whatever. They're all there for your listening pleasure. And we've got them all named. So if you want to go back for a year and a half, we've got all kinds of interesting shows there. By the way, if you would like more information about what you've heard here today, David Slonim, give us your information on how they can contact you or go to your website.
Sure. The easy part is the phone number, 321-757-5701. Or the website is slonimlaw.com.
And Jonathan, and you specialize in I can't say specialize, that's right, it's a new rule or something. You have 3 different businesses, and They tend to focus on real estate. Let's put it that way. Is that better?
Yeah,
I don't know what to say now.
This, but that's okay. Yes, we are a real estate law firm, title insurance company, and real estate company, and actually title insurance agency if we're going to be particular. And I can be reached at area code 321-953-5115, or our real estate website is waterviewre.com.
We always have to comply when we have Carolyn Wolf on from Certified Mortgage